Hi. Okay, it's me again. Take two. Apparently, iPhones overheat, and I decided to do this on a day that is quite warm, so my phone decided to shut off. So I apologize. The second half of my video, I'll be in my car, but again, I keep it real. So here I am. I believe I was talking about collaboration and having that open dialogue with everybody that makes up this district in order to best find out what's important to you, what's working, what's not working. What can we do to, as I was saying, have this district look on the inside what it looks on the outside? I've known Victor. Again, I graduated from the district with 200 kids. I've seen what it was and what it is. I'm obviously happy to be part of this community. We chose to send our kids to school here. So we have a stake in what happens in the educational system of our girls. And there are things we're happy about and there are things that we're not happy about. And so I'm not one to complain. I'm somebody who does. So I want to be the voice that sits behind the board table, that works really hard to make some of those changes that I feel need to be made for the betterment of everybody in this community. So I'm going to get to your first question. What is your vision for Victor Central Schools? How do you feel students, parents, and residents currently view VCS, and how would you like them to see VCS? So just to sort of piggyback off what I was sharing earlier, I know what Victor was, and I know now what we are. And I think that people on the outside have a sort of glamorized version, if you will, of what this district is. We do produce scholarly graduates. We do produce successful, hardworking athletes. We do produce kids who go on to do amazing things. But I know that there are things on the inside that people don't realize Victor is or isn't. And I think something that's really emerged during this time of being home is realizing how difficult this learning situation is when our students don't have access to technology. We can't assume every student at home has access to an iPad. And maybe they have access to an iPhone or some other kind of smaller device. To expect our kids to sit behind a device that fits in the palm of our hands or a little bit larger to work is not acceptable. We also have to stop and think about how that creates a divide amongst the students K through 12 in our district, when there are students who don't have the same access to things to support their learning at home. And what does that look like for those students? It's not fair and it's not acceptable. We are not a district, I feel, that should be sitting in a financial situation where we can say we are the lowest per pupil spenders of all the schools, not just in the area, but in the state. That's nothing to brag about when there are things we don't have. We not only have a lack of technology right now in our homes, we also have a lack of technology in the classroom. We don't have laptops or Chromebooks for everybody in district. At least at the elementary level, kids are sharing classroom to classroom computer carts. That poses difficulty around scheduling, access. It's a mess, really. And Smart boards. I can remember when I was teaching my second year of first grade, smart boards were the thing. They were the new up and coming thing. And I was working in a rural district. Not a lot of money in that district, but we had some grants that were written, and I had a smart board. If you look at all of our classrooms in our district, and I'm speaking to an elementary level, where I would imagine those are utilized maybe more, and maybe that's not fair to say. My kids are still at the elementary level, so I'm not sure about the junior and senior high, but not all classes have smart boards. We also don't have staffing like we need. We are out of mandate and out of compliance in regards to the amount of staff we have, whether that's in our janitorial staff, our special ed staff, I was going to say support staff, but I know that we have a wonderful group of people who come and support our kids every day. And side note, one of the things that's important to me along the way would be to be increasing that wage for those workers. You can make more money working at a fast food restaurant than you do as a teacher's aide. And I'm not dismissing somebody's work choice if they want to work at a fast food restaurant. I am making the point that our support staff should be paid an equal amount. But back to the inequities within our district. We can't brag. There's things that we need that we don't have and that we deserve to have to support the education of our kids. So when we say we're fiscally conservative, I don't think that's something to be proud of necessarily when there are things that are lacking within the walls of where our kids go to school. I also think being fiscally conservative, if you're doing it in a productive, efficient way, doesn't lead you to the budget crisis that we're in right now, which leads me to another reason why I'm running to be on the board. So my vision would be technology is accessible for all kids. We own the device, but the kids have access to it. It's theirs, but it's property of the district. We increase the ability to purchase technology for our teachers in the classroom. And again, that's going to be around better designing a smarter budget. I would also say in increasing those areas where we're out of mandate and compliance in terms of our special educators, right now we don't have enough teachers in the support system in terms of AIS, academic intervention services, for the amount of kids that need it. And Victor can't be a place that produces great students because they're an average type of learner, if you will. We have to be able to appeal to all kinds of learners. And my vision, and one of the reasons why I like multi-age, is it's a little bit of a less traditional type of setting in terms of the approach that the teachers take in instructing the kids. So I am more around project-based learning. I'm not a big believer in rote instruction. I'm not a big believer in workbook and manual instruction. I think we take the curriculum and the standards and we get to a place where, as educators, we can be creative in the way that we teach our kids. But not having enough service providers for the students at Victor who need them is a disservice to the kids, and that needs to change. Every child deserves an A+ education, and as a district, we should do anything and everything we can to make sure we deliver on that A+ education. I would also say I had five things really that are my key five that I'm focusing on. And And I mentioned the technology, I mentioned the service providers and staffing increase, is the social and emotional health of our kids. And I know that's something we talk about a lot, but I don't just talk. I like to do. I like to make the change. One of the reasons I don't participate in social media is the same reason I won't allow my kids to use those platforms. There's too much pressure. There's too much pressure on our kids today to look and act and sound a certain way, and it's just ridiculous. We're individuals, and we need to celebrate the things that make us different, not give our kids a box to put them in. That just leads to depression and anxiety and all kinds of other things that kids need to worry about that they don't need to worry about, but they feel like they do, on top of the many other pressures in their lives today. So really designing a district that embodies kids to be themselves, kids to feel safe, kids to feel accepted, kids to be treated fairly, and the safety of our kids. And that's really number one, because what else matters if our kids aren't safe? We live in a crazy world, and the safety measures being taken up at school, they need to be better. The kids walking from the high school down into the other buildings with backpacks, that's a problem. What if somebody has something in the backpack and now it's brought down to another building? Other people knowing what our plan is in terms of where our kids go when there's a bomb threat, or a security breach of some sort where they have to leave a certain building and they take shelter in the other two buildings. Now we have the majority of our district, if not a huge chunk of our district, all hunkered down in two places. I'd say different surveillance measures being taken up at the high school and junior high, where we're not breaching we can't breach somebody's privacy. Of course, you can't have cameras in a bathroom, but cameras outside of a bathroom. So we know who's coming in and who's coming out. And if somebody's defacing the property or making a threat, we can narrow down who that might be. That would mean maintenance is going in at certain checkpoints, to be able to monitor that better. So that's not a window that we miss. So again, those are just a few key points of things. One of the biggest things would be our financial situation, and I'll get to that in one of the later questions. Again, I think VCS is viewed, it's a skewed idea of who we really are, depending upon who you ask. And I feel like there needs to be some continuity and some consistency around what people can say about us based on what we do. We have to do. It doesn't matter what we look like. It matters what we do and who we really are. And so I would like Victor Central Schools to look on the inside the way they do on the outside. We are a beautiful manicured campus, all one campus. Again, it shows that cohesiveness. So let's really look like that on the inside. Question 2, as a board member, you are expected to represent the entire district. How do you plan to engage and communicate with the VCS community as well as residents not currently connected to VCS? Please be specific. Back to what I had originally mentioned, we need to have open dialogue. You need to be somebody who's active in the community. In addition to my work that I do up at school, I volunteer at the Serenity House, which is a comfort care home in Victor, working with the terminally ill. I am a caregiver. Again, I want to be the voice for people who need one and who need that support, and who maybe don't have it at such a vulnerable time in their life. On a bigger scale, I work alongside a foundation called the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation. I'm going to say that slower, Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation. And I say it slow because it's a mouthful, but that was the cancer that my father had. And because I got involved, and I wanted to be a mentor for patients and families who are going through what my family went through. And unfortunately, I learned a lot about that disease, more than I ever wanted to know. And it's made me a little bit of an expert. Not to say I'm happy to be an expert in that area, but I'm happy to be able to pay it forward and support families who need it most. So I like to be a voice. So being involved outside of the district, keeping relationships healthy and keeping them real, because I want to know how you feel and I want you to know how I feel, and we can only do it together. So let's talk, and you can feel comfortable talking to me and talking to the kids. It's interesting through this process, through these short weeks, how I've had my own kids and some of their friends reaching out to me saying some of the different things that they'd like to see. So giving the kids a voice. They're the ones who go to our school every day, and they're there for 6 hours, 5 days a week. So what do our kids want? What do our kids need? So you've got to be able to have those conversations. You've got to be able to listen. If you can't listen, you're not going to get anywhere. So as I said earlier, I come with an open ear. So I want you to share with me, even if it's things that are hard to hear, or we get to a place where maybe we disagree. We have to agree to disagree, but how do we move forward? I'm all about a plan. If you know me well, you'll know the second something transpires, I don't lead with emotion. I lead with my head and common sense. Before, if I even get to a point of leading with emotion, I don't really. But how do we move forward? What's our plan? You have to have a plan. Even some of the smallest things that occur in my family life, I'm like, okay, what's the plan? And I know I drive everybody nuts, but you have to have a plan. And you got to be able to connect and feel comfortable with people. And I think the way to do that is to just be yourself. And that's who I am. So I can't apologize for it. I just hope that you can embrace that. In terms of knowing maybe what we need in the district, I think I wear all the different hats that one could wear to know what a district needs. So I was a Victor student. I am a teacher. I was a teacher in a classroom for many years. I was a part of a support staff as a teacher's aide. I have 2 kids in our district who are young, who I have a lot of skin in the game because I want to see them progress through along with their peers and have those things I feel necessary to be different all along the way. So I'm here to stay. And I listen to what people need and why they need it. There needs to be a reason. You got to be able to back up how you feel and why. So I think I know from a personal perspective on all those levels, what the people of this community need and want. Question 3, some are concerned that BCS is falling behind other surrounding districts in terms of academic programs and performance, as well as technology access. What are your thoughts on how to address these concerns? So I apologize if I'm long-winded on my answers, and I try to stick to the topic and not get off topic too much. It's hard when you're talking to nobody and just your phone, so you sort of get lost in your own head and thoughts, but I'll try to keep it more streamlined. I do think that we're falling behind academically, and the access to technology is a driving force as to why we're falling behind. The budget crisis we're in is a reason why we're falling behind. It's really a simple calculation. You've got to look at what we have and what we don't have, and you add that together and we can produce what we have. So if we're happy with what we're producing, then let's stay status quo. It sounds like we're not happy. I don't want to start the blame game and pointing fingers. because I think it's over the years and a variety of reasons how we ended up at the place that we've ended up. I do feel like it's shocking that this is the first time we're hearing that we're in this terrible financial hole. It's not a surprise. Was the board surprised? Was our former superintendent surprised? No, there was so much leading up to this where communication and collaboration and transparency should have been revealed a long time before now. So we didn't get to this place. But when you don't talk and when you don't keep it real and when you don't work together, this is what you produce. So we are falling behind. And it's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to the taxpayers. It's not fair to the people who move here. Not everybody who lives here are people who have grown up here. A lot of people move here and they move here for the schools. And yes, the low tax rate is a plus, but they don't necessarily know what they're getting for that low tax rate. And so it's disappointing because we can do more. We should do more. And if you elect me, I will see to it that we do more. So we are falling behind. And so how do we not fall behind? Well, you need change. This is why you have 9 candidates running for the board. And I can't speak to how many candidates in the past have run, but I have a feeling this is a bigger group than normal. I think you've got people tuning into these town halls and participating in these budget meetings and that had attended the meetings in person before this all happened, where we can't have in-person meetings. I think the participation of our community is greater now than ever. And clearly some can say, well, we're all stuck home. We have the time. And so it's easy to pull up on your tablet and watch from your couch. But even so, people are participating in that. They're adding their thoughts. People are talking over social media. People are talking over email. People are talking over text. People are engaging in this because they seek change. And I feel we have a wonderful addition to this district with Dr. T. And I think we need to bring different leadership to the board to work alongside Dr. T and Jay Schickling, who I know is new to the district and I would say is doing a phenomenal job. I don't know anything about what he does, but he does it in such a way that I can understand what he does. So let's create a board that can work with Dr. Terranova and Jay and the community around what do we need to do to get Victor Central Schools where it needs to be and go from there. And I think that takes a change in leadership around the school board table. And I hope people will realize that if you continue to keep some of the same players, you're going to get the same results. Number 4, what are your views on the current budget proposal? Do you feel that property tax increases are necessary, or do you have other ideas on how to increase revenue? Some of the items that were mentioned in small print that were suggestions of what to talk about were the redistricting ideas that people have discussed, along with the fact that we don't receive any sales tax revenue from the county. So I'll be the first to say it actually disgusts me, and I don't really use the word disgust often, but I need to use a word to have you understand how sad and upset and frustrated and disappointed I am that we're sitting where we are today with our budget. Again, why did this come out of nowhere? Why wasn't this brought up before so we could have problem solved along the way and not gotten to this place? Well, somebody's not talking and sharing. So we need to start doing that now. I think asking taxpayers right now for more money to only maintain what we currently have is sad. I would like to be able to go to our taxpayers and present a budget that, of course, not maintains what we have. Of course, we need to maintain what we have. but we also need so much more. And so the idea that in a couple of years from now, we have to come back and ask people again is bothersome to me. And I know it's not a good time in the world and in people's homes and the real issues people are facing. Health, loss of life, that's first and foremost before money, but the economic impact in people's homes. And I know it's not a good time to ask for more money, and I wish that with the asking of the money, we could be giving more. And I know it is what it is. I really don't like that term, but I use it a lot. But it is what it is. And if we don't want our kids to suffer, then we have to ask the taxpayers to do more. And my hope would be, however you vote, because everybody's entitled to vote any which way they so choose based on what they think is best for them in their heart and in their head, in their family situation, in their beliefs. And so I judge not one way or the other. Believe me, if you know me, I don't judge. That's why I'm really easy to get along with and work alongside, because I don't judge. I don't want you to judge me. I don't judge you. So moving forward, whatever happens on June 9th, we need a board that can work alongside our administration at the district level, to really get sound input from our community and design a budget that isn't so conservative, that puts us at such a loss. It's fine to be conservative if you have things left over. Just like when you budget in your own home, you can't budget so conservatively that you have nothing left. Or you have to wonder where that next amount of money is going to come from to pay for something that might pop up or something that you may need. So it's just simple economics personally, even in your own home. So at a public school level, we really have to be smart in how we design a budget that I would say is fiscally responsible and that gives us a lot of bang for our buck. So the output and the input, there's some balance there. In terms of ideas on how to get there, I'll reference those couple of things I mentioned a moment ago. The idea of redistricting, I don't like. I think it's unfair to somebody who comes and moves into this area wanting to send their kid, their child rather, or children to Victor schools, and to at some point go to them and say, well, actually we're running out of room and we don't have the financials to support this many students. So if you live on the border of Victor and Farmington, or Victor and Canandaigua, or Victor and Shortsville, or wherever else that we may border, Palmac, that you may be redistrict, you may be a part of a redistricting proposal. That's not nice. If we are building homes in this area with the notion that these homes are sending the children in those homes to VCS, then we have a responsibility as a district to provide the space and allot the funding, or allocate the funding for those kids. So in my opinion, no, it would be, we are one family there and we will figure out a better way. And in terms of the sales tax revenue, as a district, we aren't able to accept any like the other counties. That's just ridiculous. I mean, look at Eastview Mall and the amount of sales tax that they bring in, and how much of that would equate to a dollar amount for our school district. That would be something that would be at the top of my agenda, to work really hard with whomever I needed to work hard with to see that to change. So at whatever level, local, state, federal, that needed to change, I would see to it to get a group of people behind me to lead that idea, because that just needs to change. That's absurd that we aren't able to receive any of that money. So that would be at the top of my list. I think the whole budget needs to be restructured and looked at from a different set of eyes. When something's not working or something is presenting such a big problem, well, we need to look at how do we fix it. And again, the players need to change so we can make those real changes. Last, parents are looking for representatives who are committed to Victor Central Schools. Did you vote in the 2019 VCS budget and Board of Ed election? Keep in mind that voter rolls are public information. I went back and forth about my comfort level in answering this. And again, it's public knowledge. So if you really want to know if I voted or anybody else, you can find that out, and it's your prerogative to do so. And you're right. I don't feel comfortable answering that question because I would not feel comfortable asking any of you if you voted. I don't feel comfortable asking people in a federal government election if they voted. I don't talk politics. Again, it's such a sensitive subject. And unless you know your audience well, it's a real tricky conversation to get into. I won't answer a question that I wouldn't ask somebody myself. People can draw from that what they want. But again, I think that's just a private question in terms of there needs to be a sense of privacy that we keep amongst ourselves that make us who we are. And I think our political views and whether we participate in voting or not doesn't necessarily tell us something about somebody one way or the other. I think the fact that we get involved and we participate and we do sets us apart from people who sit back and maybe want to complain or talk with their neighbors or their families about things they want different but don't do anything about it. So again, I'm not avoiding the question to send one message or another. I just simply don't feel comfortable answering whether I have voted in the past because I feel like that's a private question and I wouldn't ask any of you that question. That's not my business to know. My hope is that in whatever capacity you can involve yourself to make good change, that you do that in whatever way that looks for you. Be the change that you do want to see in the world. And I know that's a quote, and I probably didn't even quote that correctly, but I know that's something people say. I say it, but I live by it in the sense that I am very involved. And I hope I can involve myself with the help of your votes to be the next new board member. And no matter which way that election goes, you'll still see my face around, involved at the level that it is, and in any other ways that I can help. I just want to thank everybody in my corner that has supported me thus far. Some people are super close to me that have hopped on board with this, and there are others who are a little bit farther outside of my circle who have been so wonderful and asking questions and wanting to know more about how I feel and where I stand and supporting me in that way. If you see my name around on some of the signs, that's me, Holly Boisvert. It's green for the cholangiocarcinoma foundation. That's the color of that cancer. So that means something to me, and I'll always keep that with me. So I feel like my dad is with me all the way. I know that he is, and he'd be so proud of me. And you may not see my signs everywhere. You'll see them in places that are appropriate. You'll see them in places that they're allowed to be. I'm not somebody who's going to break the rules and go against what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do to get my agenda out there. So I have seen some things from other candidates that I find a little disheartening in terms of, the public recognition